Okay, so last week we went through um, how to bulletproof. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to share my screen yet. How to bulletproof your buyer transactions. And we added a few different things through to that. But basically what the conversation was is where do you hit emotional roadblocks, right? Or where do you find the issues falling apart in your transactions for your buyers, right? What is the time that creates the most conflict for them during the transaction, and trying to warn them of it ahead of time to ensure that that's not a reason that the deal falls apart. Okay, so today we're going to talk about on the seller's side. Okay, so I want you guys thinking about at your sellers, right? We don't have many. You're welcome to open a chat box. We have so few people on here. I'm not expecting too many answers, especially with no cameras, so no pressure. But any of you, if you think about it, what are some of the places? That's all right, Anna, don't worry. What are some of the places that your seller transactions can get stressful for your sellers? Okay, so throw that in the chat box, and that's what we're going to kind of go through today. Absolutely, when they see the inspection results, they freak. That's exactly right, Stephen. Um, Getting ready to show your house and list it is very emotional for sellers. Getting out of the house every day is very emotional for sellers, right? Yep. And I got it. Keeping it show ready. Awesome. So the intention of this, okay, and all of these conversations and all of these pages in the script book, again, remember, is so that somewhere in your process, in your pen to close process or your list to close process for your sellers, where are these conversations built in? Okay, where is your email that tells them about this? Where is your video that tells them about this? Or where are you having the phone conversation to go through each of these things with them and make sure you've talked them through all of these things? Okay, this is to hopefully keep deals together better than it's happening right now, because pending fallout is at a super high level right now, one of the highest we've seen in a really long time. That's why these conversations are so very important, because once you've got these deals and these clients, you got to keep these transactions together, right? Okay, and then same thing as last week. If you see anything missing, all right, if you know a deal has fallen apart with a seller recently and we have missed having the conversation, let me know so we can add it. All right? Okay, so I'm not going to read these to you, but I'm just going to tell you about them, especially so those of you who can't see the screen, you kind of understand what the conversation is. Okay, you can go back and practice the scripts later and make sure you internalize these and get them in your words. Okay? Let's start with interviewing other agents. I went on a listing appointment once, and when I walked out, I lost the appointment. And the reason I lost the listing, and the reason I lost the listing is because they said, well, you just weren't putting it on as many websites as the other agent. This was back when putting it on lots of websites mattered, right? So I about died, and I'm like, oh my gosh. At this point, I was at Keller Williams, and I'm like, we are the leading tech company in the industry, and they're not hiring me because of something tech. That became important. Okay. So what I realized is that I wasn't spending enough time on the things that everyone else already does, right? I was highlighting the other things, but I needed to make sure they understand, listen, everything every other agent does, I guarantee I'm doing as well. We're just going to highlight the things that I'm going to do differently than other agents. Okay. So if you talk to someone else and you talk to another person and you realize, oh gosh, they do that, I wonder if Julie does, just come back and ask me. Okay. And I'll give you an honest response if I do or I don't. Okay. So that's a lesson, and you lose a deal and you build it into your process to make sure it never happens again. Okay. And so that's how this became in that. Sorry, I'm dry this morning. Staging, right? The best script I ever used for staging was when it doesn't feel like yours, it's probably ready for the market. Okay. We want them not emotionally attached to that house anymore when they put it on the market. It also helps them understand what depersonalization means, right? So we have to constantly talk to them about we can't have it look like yours. We can't have it look like your style, like your family lives here, right? We have to depersonalize this house as much as possible. And the day it feels like you don't even live there anymore is probably the day that it's ready to hit the market, right? But let them know they're going to feel that. You are going to feel disconnected to this house once it looks like this, okay? Preparing for showings. Somebody already said this. Keeping your house ready every single morning for showings, right? Tell them you understand that's the worst part about being a seller. Make sure you say that to them, right? Because every person preparing every single morning needs to know that you understand. That truly is the worst part of being a seller, right? Is getting it ready every morning. The other thing I said is you'll be mad at me probably a lot in the mornings, right? You'll be cussing me, you'll be mad at me, and that's okay. Put it all on me. In the meantime, right, I'm going to share with you all of my tips and tricks for getting ready for a showing as quickly as possible. Also, I'll have an entire check sheet for you that'll walk you through those ideas. But just remember, don't take it out on the rest of your family. I'm here to take that stress when you feel it and put it on me. Okay? Feedback. Okay, so there's two important things in the feedback. Number one, it's when we're going to get it, right? Why we have feedback. Feedback's going to show us if we're positioned correctly in the market. And sometimes it hurts, right? So, any of you that kind of sugarcoat the feedback, I did that for a lot of years and I realized it wasn't working. I needed to send them the feedback as bluntly as I was getting it so that they could feel what I felt when I opened it and went, oh, they hate it, right? So it's a different thought altogether. And you just have to warn them it's going to feel like that sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to give you the feedback straight from the horse's mouth, right when the agent provides it. And we're going to try not to get emotional about it. Okay. You guys all know how feedback comes in and how you leave it. You start with a positive thing at least, and then you mention the things that the reasons you're not buying this house or considering it. If you're considering it, you're typically always going to put something in there that isn't perfect about the house, potentially, right? Just so you have some negotiation space. I had a deal fall apart because in the feedback, they mentioned the bathroom layout was not ideal. This is a great house. It's on the top of our list. Bathroom layout is not ideal. When they wrote an offer on the seller's house, they could not get past that. Well, our bathroom isn't ideal, so they shouldn't have this one. It happened. They didn't take the offer. We sat on the market for a long time because they got emotional about feedback that came in. Okay? Perfect example of why we're doing this. Okay. And then there will be some stupid reasons that they're not buying the house. It will get very annoying to both of us. They just need something to tell us, right? And when there's important things, that's what my job is, to interpret the feedback so we know what to pay attention to and maybe make a change, or know that we have to face that going forward. Okay. Showing process. Okay, so this is actually, that's probably not the best name of this because this paragraph actually talks about when you're going to get the feedback. Okay, because how many of you, as soon as the buyer might likely walk out, you start getting texts and calls from the sellers. Do we know what they thought? Do we know what they thought? Right? No, we're not going to know what they thought right when they walk out. So you got to warn them of that. Right? The process is I'm going to give them at least 5 hours. So as soon as they walk out, I'm going to send an automatic text that asks them for feedback, the buyer's agent. Then I'm going to give them at least 5 hours to do their due diligence, to think, to see other houses, to do what they're doing. At that point, then we will call them for feedback and to answer any questions they might have. At that point, if we don't have it, I will be calling, texting, and emailing every day until we get it. However, After a couple days with no feedback, we're probably going to pretty much know they're likely not interested in your house. Okay? It doesn't mean I stopped going for feedback because I was a bull on feedback. I feel so strongly about that. All of you on here. As a buyer's agent, feedback is your fiduciary responsibility to the industry and to the seller that's opened their house to you. Leave feedback. Be diligent about it, please, and leave good feedback. You guys all know how important that is. But warn them what the feedback's going to seem like and what it's going to feel like and what we're going to do with it when it comes in and when they can expect it. Okay? So this is one we added in the COVID market. A little further down, we have where we get into getting offers slowly and getting offers quickly, really fast. Okay, this was one we kind of threw in there. This one is about the multiple offers that you might get. Okay, so this is another one that I always said to sellers. If you don't feel like you've underpriced it, you've likely overpriced it, right? Because when you price it right, it will bid up over your ask and can often result in buyers removing common contingencies and like their inspection to win the offer. Okay, so just warn them that when our goal is to price it so that we might get multiple offers, right? And again, when you're talking your pricing strategy, do we want to be ahead of the market, just at what the market's doing, or behind the market, right? I was never going to take a listing that was okay to be behind the market. We're either going to be at or ahead of, and hopefully they want to be ahead of so that we can bid this thing up and get as much money in their pocket as possible. But then what happens, right? What happens when your buyer pays over list? You're the seller. The buyer's just written an offer above list price. They're removing contingencies. They're doing all this stuff. And what's the mentality of that buyer now? They deserve everything. This house should be perfect because I paid a premium for the property, right? Give me digital hands if you guys have dealt with that before. Warn your seller as we go into negotiations. This is likely the mindset of our buyer. And we just have to remember that doesn't mean that's what you're offering. We just have to understand that as we go in having these conversations with them, that's likely what they're thinking about. Okay? So warn them of these things. Difficult agents on the other side. We know they're out there. We know they cause real problems in transactions. You likely have a list of people you've had cross deals before with, and you know their tricks. You know their standards, and you either like them or you don't. And it is important to tell your sellers we don't get to pick all the time our buyer's agent, right? Our agent on the other side. We will try. If we've got two great offers and it comes down to something, we might, right, make the decision because of the agent. However, right, it's very likely half of the time we might get a difficult agent on the other side. Do you feel like half of the time is still relevant? Is it half of the time still that you have a bad agent on the other side? Let me know in the chat if it's gotten worse or if it's gotten better. All right, let me open my chat box. Brandy, does anyone else have issues getting feedback sent automatically to your client on Supra? Answer that if you know. Oh, Stephen might have also. Okay, no, he was talking about the buyers. Yep, they want everything perfect when they pay list price for it. When I click send a client, it never works. Okay, so I would definitely send something through the little chat widget that you probably have on Supra and get that sorted because you want that to go. That's an extra step that you do not want to have to do. So yeah, Randy, I would do that. Okay. What about a low appraisal? How many of you have seen the emotional hit a low appraisal takes on your sellers? That one's a super hard one, and here's why. We're really far into the transaction when that happens, right? We've crossed all the other hard bridges, we think, and then a low appraisal. How many times do they just throw their hands up and they're like, I'm out of here, done, right? If you warn them ahead of time, that's absolutely part of the process. And we're going to mentally prepare for a low appraisal. My team is working on the statistics we need to handle a low appraisal. Okay, but I want you mentally prepared for that. And then when it comes back great, we're on to the next step really easily. Okay, that way they just don't get emotional when it happens. The report, here's Stevens. Okay, the way I always said this one was when you see that report as a seller, you are going to panic. You are going to feel like everyone thinks your house was not maintained, right? You didn't do anything to keep it up. Why didn't they know about all these issues? And you're exactly correct to feel like that. The entire point of an inspection is to uncover things you don't know about. If you knew about them, you would have fixed them already. Okay? So number one, we have to understand these are things you didn't know about, and everyone's going to understand that. Okay? Second, it's going to feel very overwhelming, right? But again, that's why I'm here. I'm going to help you understand what are potential major defects that are outlined in your report. I'm going to walk you through what we should focus on and things like that. So I just want you to know, as soon as you see this report, you are going to panic. You're going to want to get rid of this deal, kill it, throw these buyers away, walk away in 2 seconds. And I want you to know you're going to feel that way. And then take a breath and we're going to talk through it. Okay? Some of you have come off or onto camera, which I love so much. If you have a question, feel free to just come off mute anytime and I will grab you. How many of you have had sellers freak out when the showing company calls for the final walkthrough? Anyone? Oh, such an issue. We had to build that in. It is part of the process. They have to walk through the property before they close on it, right? So just make sure you're talking them through that so when that showing comes through, they're not taken aback. Why on earth would the buyers want to come through the property? Mason, did you have a question? Okay. All right. So then I think we're down to the final ones. So what happens when you get offers real quick? Hold on, I'm rereading this, you guys, because this is one we added last year. Okay, so what these two next scripts are doing is preparing you about what we're seeing in the market, right? Ahead of the market or at the market. How did we determine what the market's doing? We looked at the showing numbers and we looked at the days until accepted offer. Okay, so we know that a house in your area and price point should likely get an offer in the first 24 hours. Okay, if we don't see that, we may need to do something else. Okay, that's how we're going to tell we are positioned in the market to get your property sold, because we are doing what the market says should happen. Okay. And then if you're getting them slowly, if you have a property that it looks like it might take a little longer, that's okay. That's part of this market right now, right? Days on market are just going up, 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 up. That's fine. And just warn them about that. Here's what the market says. The market says it will take 32 days for us to get an offer on your property. So what that tells me is that in the first 7 days, we likely will not see an offer. Okay? If we do, awesome, right? However, this market is just telling us buyers are moving slower than they used to, unfortunately, and that's what that's going to result in. Is it's going to take a little longer for us to get an offer on your property. That doesn't mean we're doing anything wrong. It just means we're exactly at the market. If we start to see that shift, that we are performing worse than the market, that's when we need to make a change. Okay, does that make sense? All right, last one. I know I've talk at you, and then I'm going to let you guys ask some questions. So financing contingencies. This is a huge one. So many deals fall apart right at the end because of financing. I'm hearing it from my clients every day on their deals falling apart. So we just need everyone very mentally prepared that up until the actual day of closing, it can always fall apart. Okay? Everyone needs to know that. The deals can fall apart until we walk out of closing with the money in your hand because anything can happen. We used to use the script everyone said if your buyer gets hit by a bus on the way to the closing, guys, it happened. I used to use that all the time. He did not get hit by a bus, but he got in a car accident on the way to closing. No more closing, right? And everything was perfect up until then. So just make sure your sellers know. We know this inherently, but we often forget to pass that along and share that with the sellers and make sure they're mentally prepared that anything can happen right before closing. Okay, I'm going to stop my share and comments or questions. Anyone? Okay. Do you think this could be helpful in keeping your transactions together? Do you see how having these conversations can eliminate a lot of the emotion in a transaction and really help you keep them together?
Julie, I
Hopefully
have to
that's a
give you
yes.
kudos.
Oh, thanks, Connie.
Half an hour of you just talking, 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 and nobody responding has got to be difficult. Okay, so
Well, thank you.
I'm thinking all the things you said is absolutely true. Everybody's going to have their point that sets them off. For instance, I had a client after 7 days, we had one showing, and she
Okay.
goes, "How long did I sign the contract with you for?" And I'm going, "Oh my God."
See, this is the stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you're trying to eliminate that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Great
we
point.
had a good outcome. We lowered the price. She was just panicking. I said, "Well, I told you a little high if we could come down." And then we got it sold on day 9. So it's like,
Exactly right. That's beautiful and a perfect example of why these conversations are so important. So here's what I learned in my business, right? When I'd forget is when it would happen.
mm,
Okay. So that's why I say it is so important to not only acknowledge these, you're probably all saying them. Okay. I don't doubt that at all. Where are they built into your process so you never don't say them? Where are they in your process so you always say them to every person, everyone, every time?
yeah,
Okay. That's the important of this list and these couple pages. Okay. And then the other thing is to keep it live, right? You're going to have things that change it all the time. I walked out of that listing appointment and was like, you've got to be kidding me. Okay. That has to become part of my script that I do everything every other agent does. Okay. What else? Anything else?
well, I'm wondering if it'd be good to just everything you just said, just put little lists together so you know, okay,
Yes.
here's what could happen. Boom, 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 boom.
That's amazing. Yep. Some of the things that cause deals to fall apart. That'd be an awesome thing in your listing presentation. What we used to do is every one of these, I was going to tell you guys to do that actually at the beginning of the call. As you go through that list on these pages, I want you to write where in your transaction that goes. Okay. So I want you to think about it. If you're your transaction coordinator, great, or your transaction coordinator, where would they put that to have that conversation? Because we would email these conversations like in our what's next, right? How to get ready for your inspection. That would be the conversation and how to get ready. And I would record a video of me saying it, and it went with the email. Okay, so I took one morning, recorded every video as part of the transaction that I needed to. Took me like 2 hours, recorded everything because it is so important for them to hear your voice, your passion, right? When you are talking to them about what they're going to feel, they've got to hear that you understand that. Okay, so the videos were hugely valuable with it also. So then they heard me having the conversation, they saw it in the email, right? And then if I had the chance to talk to them about it in person, of course I was going to. Okay, so use those steps to build these for your buyer and your seller into your processes so that every single time you make sure you're having them. Awesome. Okay, anything else? All right, you guys are awesome. You five that got pressured into showing your face, I love you so much and I appreciate it. Those of you that didn't, it is not a big deal. I'm good at this. I am used to it and it's early in the morning. So I don't care, but I love you guys that are willing to come on and see me and play with me. So, all right, next Tuesday, we're going to talk ABC buyer. How do you prioritize your buyers? Right? All these buyers you have out there that you're working with all the time, how do you communicate with them and prioritize them? All right, I will see you then. Have a happy week, everybody. Keep your sellers off the ledge.